So this was from a workshop I did with a colleague, and you can see the picture there. So this is similar to the task that I'm asking for you to do tomorrow. So these were some of the artefacts that people brought in to as metaphors for their teaching philosophy. Okay, so you can see on there's a whole wide range of things: glasses, an umbrella, a tie, a clock, pens, a key. Lots of different things. So people brought those objects in, and that was a metaphor for their teaching. Okay, so that's just to kind of prompt you to think quite widely about what it is that you might want to bring in. Now, the second reason I brought this up, I think I might have mentioned this last time I was here, I'm not sure, but the HEA has this blog page for people to reflect on their teaching practice. Okay, so I put the link to the main page onto the virtual learning environment for you. So there's a whole series of blogs here under this title called Talking Teaching. Okay, so I've linked that into the VLE for you, and all of these here are pretty much about why people apply for fellowship. Okay, so you might like to read some of those. It might prompt similar ideas in your own minds. You know, there's hundreds of them there. So maybe just kind of pick out one or two that are from a similar discipline to yourself or what have you. It might just help you think about that reflective writing. We don't use reflective writing very much in our academic practice, so it's quite a different style of writing to get used to. So there's those there. Have a look through those and see if any of those inspire you. And then the other thing I wanted to show you was this page here. And on this page this is the international part of the HEA website, and on here we have blogs specifically from people from international universities. So this is from a guy, Bolatsan, from Nazarbayev University, and it's quite lovely. This is the guy that I taught, and the first, it's a similar program to this where it's 3 weeks over a period of time, and the first week he just sat there and said, no, this is rubbish, this is not for me. So I really like this blog because it kind of, he says that in here somewhere, that he sorry?
It's on the website?
This is all on the website, there's all the link there. So I'm just showing you these ones, and there's a couple of other ones from different international universities. Because I would like to encourage you, if you would like, to try and write something like this as well after you finish the program. Maybe after you finish your fellowship application, if you don't hate anything to do with the HEA and never want to hear from us again, but hopefully it's a rewarding experience and you might want to reflect on it. Okay, so these are just some examples that you might like to write something similar. Okay. Particularly, I think once you've written your fellowship application, you've kind of got in that mode of writing, and you can just write a short piece as part of that. So I've put all of those links onto the virtual learning environment, and it's up to you if you're interested in number one, having a look at other people's writing just to help you, and number two, thinking about writing something yourself. Okay, so quality assurance and enhancement. I think this is a really boring topic. You know, it's like one of those things you have to. Anyway, so but it was in the course, so I have to talk to you about it. But we'll not spend too long on it because I think there's more. It underpins everything we do, but I kind of really want to move on from the quality assurance to the enhancement piece. Okay. So there's been a growing need for quality assurance across the HE sector. As higher education has become massified, we say there's more and more young people going to higher education. It's becoming a huge government investment, a huge investment in students, and therefore there's this greater emphasis on making sure that the quality is right. And the range of programs that are on offer has also diversified. So there's a huge range of different subjects. You know, I was at the University of Birmingham and talking to them about their professional golfing program. And there's a very high prestigious university in the UK, and they have a program on being a professional golfer or professional golfer. So huge range of subjects. How, you know, and there's no reason to say that that's not any more rigorous a subject than dentistry or engineering or what have you. And then the type of outcomes that the students get is changing as well. So many students may come and do a foundation degree or an associate bachelor's degree. How do students know what the difference is? How do employers know what the difference is? Those have to be quality assured. And of course there's changes in delivery mode. When my old university, but were one of the first universities to deliver completely online programs, so sort of 20 years ago, and the professional bodies were like, well, you know, how can this be as good as the face-to-face class? You know, is it the same qualification? And students still ask the same today. If I do a course completely online, is it the same qualification as if I attend university? And that kind of thing is starting, people are starting to recognise that. But, you know, is a part-time course to get a degree, is that the same qualification as a full-time degree? How do we know that it's the same quality? And then if you take it part-time and it takes you 20 years to get the degree, is that still the same as it took somebody 3 years to get? And that kind of brings on to the last one. And in the UK now they're talking about offering fast-track degrees. So there's no summer vacation. Students basically complete an honours degree in 2 years. Is that equally a good quality to a degree? It took you 3 years or 4 years. How do we know that? So those are the sort of questions that the sort of quality assurance agenda are designed to ask. As the sector is becoming more internationalised, you want to be sure that your students, or your students want to be sure as well, that if they get a degree from Bay Kent University, they can then transfer to a postgraduate programme in the UK or America or somewhere else in Europe. You know, that degree will be recognised as a good quality degree. And there's also the growth of the private higher education sector. You know, people are always slightly more kind of sceptical perhaps about private HE sector, particularly in the UK. You know, is that as good as the public sector? So there's lots of different drivers. And the last one, again, particularly we're seeing a lot of in the UK, and there's a lot of discussion about who should be paying for higher education. But if the government are investing an awful lot of money in getting a lot of students through universities, they want to make sure that every one of those students is getting a high quality experience. So there's a lot of drivers then for quality assurance, and I think it's pretty much accepted that we have to have these processes in place. But when we think about quality assurance, there's lots of different stakeholders, and each stakeholder has slightly different perception on what good quality means. Okay, so you can think about the institutions themselves; they're very much interested in their reputation. So we've just had a ranking system in the UK, and the first results were published in the summer there. And universities can now rank their teaching quality as gold, silver, or bronze. Okay, and so we've always had league tables for a long time, and we've had various other ways of ranking universities, but now we've got this teaching excellence framework which says basically gold, silver, or bronze, and it's creating quite a lot of conversation, shall we say, in the sector. So there's that was very much driven. The HEIs are very much interested in being able to say that they're a gold star organisation. Governments, obviously a stakeholder, they're investing a lot. They obviously want good graduates coming out of universities. They are obviously interested in how much money they're putting into the sector, but they want to make sure that the graduates coming out are going to drive the economy forward and are going to be for the benefit of society. Of course, students and parents are interested in the quality, particularly parents that are paying for students' fees or accommodation. Students themselves want to make sure that their university that they're paying for or they're investing their time in gives them a good quality degree. Employers want to know that when they look at, they want an easy way of saying, well, a graduate from Bay Kent University is equivalent to a graduate from University College London. I can just pick from one of those. It's the same thing. I know that they're both equal quality. And many degrees are accredited by professional bodies, so the dentists, the engineers, the doctors, so that again they have an interested stake in ensuring that the programmes are of appropriate quality. So lots of different stakeholders, and they all have a slightly nuanced sort of feeling about what they want and what they would describe as quality. So what do we actually mean by quality assurance? So there's a definition at the top there, and I think it's just important to pick out some of those key words in it. It's systematic, it's structured, and it's continuous. Okay, so you don't just have a one-off quality assurance review and that's it. You have to kind of repeat it, and you know there's a how deep you go and how often you repeat the quality assurance mechanisms are all part of the process. And it's think about in terms of quality maintenance. Okay, so you're still delivering the same standards and also improving the quality. Okay, and I think that's where the tension lies. We were talking this morning about how do we enhance our practice. And how do we know what we're doing is enhancing our practice? Okay, so if you're striving to improve, you need to get the evidence to say that is an improvement. So it's kind of a messy circle. And we can think of quality in terms of things like the actual academic programme. So is the curriculum properly designed? Does it have all the subjects in there that you need to be an engineer, or all the subjects in there that you need to be a dentist, or what have you? All the subjects in there that you need to be a doctor. But it's, okay, so that's the curriculum's written down nicely, but is that actually then delivered to the right sort of standards? So is the teaching and learning appropriate? Is the assessments, or have we actually got valid, high quality assessments that measure the learning outcomes of the programme? Okay, or is actually our assessment that everybody passes, everybody gets a first class honours, and nobody says too much about it? Okay. And increasingly now, we're thinking about the student experience. So what else do they get for coming to Bay Kent University and studying here that they couldn't get just by studying online or just by studying a whole series of MOOCs? What is it that they get in terms of their experience of actually attending the university, and what's the quality of that experience? So what are the library resources like? What are the IT resources like? Are they sat in a classroom with 500 other people taking down notes, or are they involved in active learning in laboratories and things like that? So what is that overall quality of experience like? And the quality of the student intake. So if you're taking a very diverse intake of students and then you're improving all of them and giving them good outcomes, this idea of learning gain, you know, so you're doing a good job with those students, or are you only taking the very top students and they're all great and they're all brilliant, so it doesn't matter that your teaching's rubbish because they're all going to achieve at the end anyway. Okay, so it's thinking about the quality of the student intake and how you manage that. Or are you taking in a diverse range of students because that brings you in lots of money, but actually you're ignoring all the ones that aren't very that need some more support, that need literacy support or numeracy support or English language support. You know, okay, we've got you in the door, we've got the money for your fees, and you know, it doesn't matter if you can. So lots of different kind of tenets really of quality when we think about quality assurance. Okay, so there's lots of dimensions then of quality as well, and I'm going to just leave these on the board because I'm going to come back to them. But there's what is it that we're trying to improve? What are we focusing quality on? Is it that you know you're passing a minimum set of standards, therefore that's a quality program? Is it that there's no problems, there's no errors in this delivery of this program at all? There's zero defects, and it's very much focused on the process. So you have your learning outcomes are all written down nicely. Your assessment all measures the learning outcomes. Everything's ticked off in a grid, and then it's very much kind of thinking about the process. Is it fit for purpose? Okay, so you might have an engineering degree and you produce a lot of engineers, but when they actually go out into the workplace, they can't do any engineering. So that degree program is not fit for purpose. It's not creating the graduates that it's required to. Value for money. Thinking about the inputs versus the outputs. So universities like Oxford and Cambridge have famously have a tutor system where you have a Don who's maybe working with 4 or 5 students in very small group teaching, and that process, that's a lovely process, and they all probably learn incredibly well. but is it, you know, is it actually cost effective? Would they have learned equally well in a much bigger group that was more cost effective? And then transformation, and thinking about, you know, the quality of the transformation. If that's actually why people are coming to higher education. I think we spoke in the very first module about what's the purpose of higher education, and we thought about all of these things that we wanted our graduates to be at the end of it. Are we actually achieving that transformation? Okay, are we converting them into these critical thinkers, into these innovative young people who are going to solve the world's problems, that are going to be global citizens? So how good are we at undergoing that transformation? And you can see that these dimensions of quality, some of them are going to be very easy to measure, and some of them are going to be much less easy to measure. Okay? So, I've spoken for a whole 10 minutes now, which is about the first one, but so what I want you to think about now, if we think about quality in terms of these dimensions, I should turn the light down actually. Well, I'm going to give you a handout with this on shortly anyway. So, thinking about those sort of 5 different dimensions of quality, what I want you to do first of all, and I'm just going to give you a handout to write this on, so you're just working in 2s and 3s here. Who are the stakeholders for each of those types of quality? Okay. So if you think about those dimensions of quality, who do you think the stakeholders are? I'll put the lights back on. I think I've got, you have to work in sort of 2s and 3s for these, so if you guys work together. Let me see how many I've got. So just have a discussion and start writing them in the boxes. Who do you think the stakeholders are? There's not necessarily one stakeholder per dimension. How are you doing? You want another one down here? Together on that one. Does anybody else need another one? I'll put the light back on. So first question is, when you're thinking about those, you know, there's lots of answers here. First of all, I want you to think about who the stakeholders are, okay? And just put that in those top line of boxes. So I'm just going to flick that back onto the definitions for you.